Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome back after the weekend. It actually became a long weekend for you. One extra holiday. Good evening. So, I hope all of you are doing great, and let's start the practice session today with a new test. Getting 66 marks in sectional mock, is it possible to take 79? Yes, it is possible to take 79 if you are getting more than 65 consistently. That is, you should not look at just one mock test, you should look at a series of mock tests. And if every time you are getting above 65 and not on the borderline above 65, 66, sometimes 70, or at least one or two times you've crossed 70, or maybe at least 69, 70, then yes, you're good to go for the test. So the same, okay, before we begin, the announcement, the same thing that I posted on the portal as well, and I hope all of you must have, the online students must have got it in their WhatsApp groups as well, that we will have the compensatory class on Friday this week. So that I don't want you to miss anything, because I could not conduct the class on Monday. So I have arranged a class on Friday. So we will be completing 4 classes of this week. So please don't forget, you do have a class on Friday as well this week at the same time. And now for today's test, the same announcements. Make sure that all of you are timing yourself. Make sure that you're participating, you're submitting your answers. And then also, like I said in the last class as well, that when you ask your questions, it's okay to ask your question by selecting everyone in the chat box, because it actually helps. It really helps. You will not understand this, but you will realize this later, that discussions are very helpful. For posting your answers, you can select only Language Academy, and you can do that. Rest is up to you. So here I share my screen with the test for today, and we will do the writing blanks first, because last week we did reading blanks first. So here is your first question, and you have 2.5 minutes to solve this. Please make sure that you are timing yourself and look at all the things that we discussed: the singular, plural, the tenses, the adverb, adjective things, active, passive voice, before you finalize your answer, whether there is a comma or there is no comma. So all these things impact what exactly you select at the end. So your first question on your screen is 2.5 minutes, and then please post your answers in the chat box. All right, should be done. How many of you read the last blank till the full stop? Because I don't see many. I strongly believe that if you would have read it till the full stop, you would have changed your answer and you would have selected the right answer, but you haven't. Okay, let's see. The first one. Many people who dash a lot of time playing video games insist that they have helped them in areas like confidence building, presentation skills, and debating. So people waste time on video games, spend time, give time, dedicated time. So it's a present tense statement. It's a fact. So it should not be based on any tense. And almost all of you have selected the right answer, that people who spend time, because the statement is positive. So we cannot say people who waste a lot of time, because we cannot say people who waste time say that video games have helped them. They will definitely say that the time that we spend on playing video games, that those video games or that time has helped them. So it was a positive statement. We did not need a negative word, so waste cannot be the answer. And we don't, people who give a lot of time playing video games doesn't make sense in a formal language, because we cannot give time. Give is used for words which are tangible. Dedicated cannot come because we need present tense. It's a fact. It's not based on any tense, so we don't need past tense. Dash this way of, okay, so this statement was a positive statement. People say good about playing video games. Dash this way of thinking about video games can be found almost nowhere within the mainstream media. So this statement is negative about video games, that this positive mindset, this way of thinking is found nowhere. So it's a negative thing. What we have in the options is yet, up to now, henceforth, and additionally. Additionally comes when you talk about a new point. You mention something and then you give one new point on the same context. That is when we use the word additionally. Here we are referring to the same thing. This way of thinking means we are not putting a new point here. We are elaborating on the same point that we talked about in the previous sentence. So that is why additionally cannot come. Henceforth has a very, very specific meaning. Henceforth means from this time onwards. So, for example, henceforth can be used if you say, henceforth the government will collect taxes only on online portals. Henceforth means from this time, the time that the announcement is being made. If I am making this announcement at 6:44, means from this time in the future, the taxes will be paid online only. So that is the use of henceforth. Up to now is also used in context of time. Up to is always used when you want to say a time limit. So that is why we have to go with yet. We have already discussed the meaning of yet. Yet is used when you go contrast, when you want to say but still, and but is always used in a contrasting thing. So the previous sentence, as we discussed, this was positive, that video games have helped people, but still this way of thinking is not found anywhere. So you can always and always, wherever you get the option of yet, you can always simplify it as but still, because it's very easy to understand. If you read but still in place of yet, you will automatically understand that yes, it is making sense, because we are going opposite. Then they say this mindset is not found in the media, which still tend to treat games as an odd mix of the slightly menacing and the alien. So, which means the media still treat games as something negative. This lack of dash has become increasingly inappropriate. So, again, we are referencing to something. This lack of, this means whatever we said in the previous sentence, and the previous sentence was negative. So, this lack of perception means viewpoint. Lack of viewpoint will mean that you don't have viewpoint. This lack of experience, the previous sentence, we were not talking about any experience. This lack of awareness or this lack of conscious. So the answer will be lack of awareness, that people don't know that video games are actually helpful. They still treat games as, what language did they use? Still tend to treat games as an odd mix of menacing and the alien, that they still don't feel right or positive about video games. Even if we don't understand the meaning of this language, we can understand this is not something positive at least. Conscious is used when, for example, I can say my conscious doesn't allow me to be unkind. Like my inner self, my moral values don't allow me to do something. That is when we use the word conscious. Next one, recently the British government released the Byron report into the effects of electronic media on children. So some government has released some report. Its dash set out a clear rational basis for exploring the regulation of video games. So it means of the report, because it is the pronoun and it is used for non-living thing. So it means something of the report. So what can a report have? Can report have terminating? Terminating is not even a noun, something that a report can have. Report can have conclusion, right? Report cannot have analyzing. It can have analysis. Analyzing is a form of verb and we need a noun. It's closure. Now reports don't have opens and closures. Report can have conclusion of the report, introduction of the report, body paragraph of the report, body of the report, but not closure of the report. So its conclusions set out a clear. Also, set out is singular without s. This tells us that the noun has to be with s. So the noun verb combination could also be used to find the answer, that we need a plural answer here. Then they say, however, the ensuing debate has descended into the same old squabbling dash partisan factions, and then there was a colon. And colon always explains you what the previous word means, because partisan factions is not very general for anybody to understand. So the debate has descended into the same old squabbling dash partisan factions. Who are they? The teachers of mental and moral decline and the innovative game designers. What we understand is they are talking about two types of human beings, one this and the other this. And whenever we talk about two things, we always use between in that case. Between these people, one and two. So the general logics and the general rules, if you remember, if you know how do we use between, when do we use yet, when do we use singular plural combination of verb, you can easily get your answers. So these are the answers. The first one is it's a positive statement, so we cannot say people waste time. We'll go with people who spend time. They say that it's helpful for them. Dash this way of thinking. So it was a connection. The same thing was being carried forward. This way of thinking. This means we are referencing to what we said in the previous sentence, but it was opposite. The previous sentence was positive. The second sentence was negative. So whenever you go from positive to negative or negative to positive, always use but, however, nevertheless, nonetheless. Any of these four options. Or any form of theirs, like the form of but is yet, because yet means but still together is named as yet. Henceforth is used when you want to say from this time onwards. Starting from today, in the future, this is going to happen. That is the use of henceforth. And additionally is used when you talk about the same context, but you give new information. You don't talk about the previous information. Then we use additionally. Also, when we use additionally, you need a comma after that, but we didn't have the comma after the blank. So even then we cannot use additionally here. Third one was simply based on context, that the previous sentence said that people think negative about video games. So this lack of awareness, they don't know that video games are helpful. We cannot say lack of experience because there is no experience talked about. Lack of perception doesn't make sense. Perception means viewpoint, but people are having the viewpoint. So we cannot say lack of viewpoint. And conscious is your inner belief, that is your conscious. And then the next one was just a reference to the report. It's dash set out. We could have filled this grammatically also, because set out is singular without s. So we need to put a noun with s, because the combination is only plural noun can come with singular verb. And the last one, for two things, we always say between, one and two. So they have written it. First is the preachers and the second and number two, designers. So it was something between these two people. Right? Any confusions, anybody? But means only but, and yet means but and still together. But still. In the last line, we have between. That doesn't matter. So there can be one word used 3, 4, 5 times, and that is never a basis to select it or reject it. So you have to read your sentence from full stop to full stop and make sense out of that, because this is no basis that we have to, see how many times the word has been used. Henceforth means from this time onwards. Right? Okay. So here you have your question number 2, small one. 2.5 minutes for this, and then share your answers. Okay. Those who are writing is observing, develop the habit of reading the complete sentence. You will, half of the mistakes you will yourself realize when you will read the complete sentence after putting your answer. I'll read it for you. 𝗙𝗏𝗃, you cannot give options. 1 dash use of active electroreception between members of some species known as the weakly electric fish. So 1 dash use. So some kind of use. Absorbing is not a word that we can use for use of electroreception. We cannot have intellectual. Intellectual means related to brain. Interesting use or fascinating use, both of them are very similar words, but what is more academic? Interesting is general and fascinating is more academic. So we should go always and always with academic strength. And we will go with 1 fascinating use of active electroreception dash between members of some species. Some of you have written 1 fascinating use of electroreception is observing between members of. So do you want to say that 1 use of electroreception is observing? Use can observe something. Same with the people who have written has observed. So you want to say use has observed. Is use a human being? Can use do something? 1 use of electroreception has done something. 1 use of electroreception is doing something. Is it possible? Always read the complete sentences. At least you will come to know that according to your answer, it is not practically possible. A use of electroreception cannot do any work. So either the answer can be was observed if your context is in past tense, and if it is in present tense, then we have to go passive. That 1 use has been observed. That will mean somebody has observed this use of electroreception. Use has not done thing. Use has not done anything. Somebody has found out this use, and found is known as observed in academic language. When you talk about any experiment or any new finding, then you say the word observed. So they wanted to say that 1 fascinating use of active electroreception has been observed. Means somebody has observed between members of some species known as the weakly electric fish. When 2 such electric fish meet in the ocean using the same frequency, so it's all present tense going on. They are talking about facts. When 2 fish meet, so it's a factual thing. It is not based on yesterday, today, or tomorrow. So when 2 electric fish meet in the ocean using the same frequency, each fish will then shift the frequency of its discharge so that they are dashed on different frequencies. So they are talking about fish. They means fish here. So they shift the frequency. The fish shift the frequency so that the fish are dashed. Fish are shared. That will mean somebody is sharing the fish. Fish are shared. It's not possible. There's no human being here. Fish are transmitting on different frequencies. Yes, because fish are doing the work. Fish are communicate grammatically with is, am, are. We cannot use first form of verb. So communicate is not possible. Fish are showing on different frequencies. Again, not possible. Fish are not showing anything. Fish are transmitting. And transmitting is the verb that commonly goes with the noun frequencies. Frequencies are always transmitted. You might have or must have heard this in relation to radio frequencies or internet frequencies. So use the word transmission always with them. So fish are transmitting on different frequencies. Doing so prevents their electroreception faculties dash becoming jammed. So whatever they do, this shifting process, doing this prevents their faculties dash becoming jammed. So this most of you have written correct. Doing this prevents them from becoming jammed. So you are preventing something. With the verb prevent, we always use the conjunction from. You can create any sentence. It will be prevent or protect yourself from rain. I want her to be prevented from participating. So always prevent comes with from. Prevent or protect, both of them come with from. So doing so prevents them from becoming jammed. Long before citizens banned radio users first had to yell, "Get off my frequency," at hapless novices cluttering the airwaves, at least one species had found a way to peacefully and quickly resolve this type of clash. So this type of means the answer has to be singular because this comes with singular things. Based on this, you can first easily eliminate issues because it's plural, so that doesn't make sense. Problem, dispute, questionable. Questionable is not a noun. You need this type of something. So questionable is not a thing. Out of problem and dispute. Problem is a very, very general word, which even if, let's say, I have started the class 5 minutes late, this is also a problem. You are going out and your car doesn't start, that's also a problem. But we cannot use the word dispute for that. My car is not starting, I have a dispute. That's not a dispute. Dispute is when two or more things, they crash or clash with each other. Then you say it's a dispute because there is more than one party involved. So when you look at this, they are talking about there were so many fish and there was some kind of electroreception. They're talking about clashing of the frequencies. So that is not a problem. That will be a dispute. It is a problem, but problem will generalize it that there's a problem. But when we have a specific word that what is the problem is there are more than two people, two things, two frequencies, or any more than one thing clashing or crashing. That is called dispute. Right? So these are the answers. The first one is out of interesting and fascinating. Fascinating is more academic, so that is why we should go with that. If we select interesting from fascinating or no, if the answer is fascinating, you will not get 1 mark for selecting interesting. So in PTE, there's only one correct answer. There are not two correct answers. So you have to select that particular one or you get a 0. No, this type of always comes with singular. You cannot say this type of problems. No, this type of problem, these type of problems. So this comes with singular. This is singular. No, yeah. What's the difference? Has observed is active voice Aman and has been observed is passive. Has observed mean that your subject is doing the work, whereas has been observed means the subject in the sentence is not doing the work. So the second one was based on active passive. If we say is observing or has observing, that will mean the use is doing the work. And use cannot observe anything. The use is observing, use has observing doesn't make sense. So we cannot use that. It was a passive statement. So we have to say somebody has observed one use of electroreception. Third one, communicate is wrong answer based on grammar because with are we cannot put first form of verb. And shared is also not possible because this is not a passive statement. We cannot say fish are shared on different frequencies because nobody is sharing the fish. So we have to say fish are transmitting because fish are doing the work. That is why we go with active statement, transmitting. So prevents always comes with from, prevents from. Who can prevent her from entering the contest? You need to prevent your children from getting obese. So that combination is always prevent from thing. So that is why it is from and not by, along, or against. And the last one, this type of always comes with singular noun. And out of problem and dispute, problem is a very general thing, like I gave you the examples as well. If you're running late, that is a problem. Your PC is not working, that is a problem. Your internet is fluctuating, that is a problem. Can you say my internet is not working? And can you say this is a dispute? No, but that is a problem. The problem is general thing. There are like millions of problems in a single day, and not all of those problems can be called disputes because dispute has its own meaning. When you say two or more than one thing clashing or crashing at the same time, that is called dispute. When there is a conflict of interest that two people cannot do the same thing at the same time, that is called dispute. So by with prevent comes when you have the subject after. Becoming jammed is not the subject. So you cannot say I am prevent by mosquitoes or prevent your child by mosquitoes. Can you say that? You will say prevent your child from mosquitoes. So think that when do we use by? By is when the doer is written after. But in this sentence, the doer is not written after. Right? Anybody else? Any confusion? What I have observed is you actually do not, learn the new methods. You just want answers, right and wrong. That's it. Or you want explanations, but you don't adopt the methods of getting the right answer. Now, if you would have created the one or two sentences using from, prevent and from, prevent and by, you will understand that when do we use prevent and by and when do we use prevent and from, and what is written here out of the two ways. So the techniques, these classes are only to let you know more and more techniques of solving, not just time management or things. The first one is based on academic strength out of fascinating and interesting. Fascinating is more academic. That's why that is the answer. Okay. So the question number 3 on your screens, and you have 2.5 minutes. Share your answers once you have solved. All right, this should be done now. Let's look at the answers. So this says obesity is a huge problem in Western countries and one which now attracts considerable medical interest. And what we have in options is much comes with uncountable things, but countries can be counted. We can count how many countries. So we cannot say much. More is V2, second form of verb, and second forms of verbs only comes with than, than, or when we make a comparison, there is no comparison being made here, so we cannot select more. Many countries, yes, it's possible to say many countries, and all of you have got the right answer. Mostly is used when we want to say how much of something, like 50%, 60%. So we cannot say obesity is a problem in mostly Western countries. That will mean that it is not a problem in the other countries. So we here we're just focusing on Western countries. So we'll say this is a problem in many countries, and one which now attracts considerable medical interest as researchers dash the challenge to find a cure for the common condition of being seriously overweight. So this is again a present tense statement. This is again a factual statement that they have given here. So we also need present tense. Researchers use up the challenge, break down the challenge, put up or take up. So challenges are always taken. Challenges, we don't say I have, we say I have taken the challenge. I have accepted the challenge, but we don't say I have put up the challenge. Put up is to give challenge to somebody. Breakdown means to simplify things, and use, we don't use challenges, so we'll say take up with challenge. However, dash taking responsibility for their weight, comma, means there are two parts. We have to understand what is the relationship. So dash taking responsibility for their weight, obese people have often sought solace in excuse that they have a slow metabolism. So they are saying they don't take responsibility for weight. What they do is they give excuse. Find solace or sought solace means this is their this is what they prefer. They this is what they like doing. This is what they feel good doing. So they don't take responsibility. They rather give excuses. So this should be opposite, and let's say alternately doesn't come with a comma in between the sentence. Alternatively needs a comma right after the blank. In place of taking responsibility, instead taking responsibility, but instead should come with of. Instead of taking responsibility, there is no of, so we cannot use instead. Out of, in place of, or rather than, they are mostly the same, but in place of is more general, rather than is the better academic version of saying the substitute. So we'll say rather than taking responsibility, they give excuses that I have slow metabolism, or that is why I am overweight. So a genetic hiccup which sentences more than half the Australian population to a life of dash with their weight. So life of something with their weight. Life of dealing with. Deal comes with the word with. It is a combination. But do we actually deal with weight? We deal with problems, deal with issues. That is when we use the word deal and with together. Battling with is when you are struggling with something, when you are trying for something, that is battling with. Coping with again has more relation with dealing with. Coping with can be understood as manage with something. Cope means to manage. We generally use the word cope with again. I have to cope with these situations means manage somehow. Managing cannot be the answer. Managing again is similar as coping, so it's less academic, and coping is more academic. But here they don't just manage with their weight, they actually struggle. They actually try to sort the things out. So a life of battling with their weight, because it's a constant battle that they have to live throughout with. So it should be battling. The argument goes like this: it doesn't matter how little they eat, they gain weight because their bodies break down food and turn it into energy more slowly than those with a so-called normal metabolic rate. This is nonsense, says this doctor from this unit at Cambridge in England. Dash the persistence of this metabolism myth, again a comma. Science has known for several years that the exact opposite is in fact true. So again a comma means there should be contrast. When we look at the options, hence does not show contrast. Moreover, hence comes with a comma. There is no comma after the blank, we cannot put hence. Along with also comes when you want to say two things are happening together. Then you say along with. Like you can say, along with science, I also want to take mathematics. Along with my exams, I am doing a part-time job. So two things you're doing together are happening together. Then we use the word along with. Although and despite both come when you show contrast. The difference between them, although, comes when you have a subject plus verb, and despite comes when you only have a noun after the blank. We read this. The persistence of this metabolism myth. There is no verb. There is only noun persistence. There's only noun. There is no verb till the comma. And if there is no verb before the comma, although can never come. So there is no verb, we have to go with despite. Otherwise, both of them show contrast, which is there in the sentence. So these are the answers. The first one, we can count countries. So we can. Sorry, I forgot to plug in the charger. Okay, where were we? So I was saying the second one. So okay, first one, obesity is a huge problem in many countries because countries is a countable noun. The second one, for challenges, we take challenge that I will solve this. This is a challenge that I have taken. Put up is to actually create challenge for somebody else, that is put up, and breakdown means to simplify, and use is not a verb that we use for challenge. Third one, so yes, however, and rather than can come together. Listen, see, understand the difference. However is a connector with a comma, means however is making the connection of this sentence and the previous sentence. It has nothing to do with what is written in between the sentence. So the connectors which come in the beginning of the sentence with a comma, they establish the relationship with the previous sentence. And putting rather than here has nothing to do with what is the previous sentence saying. Rather than establishes the relation between these two parts of the sentence. So it's not a rule that however will come with rather than, or however can come or cannot come. It's a different use. What is the use of however and what is the use of rather than in these type of sentences, then you can understand it easily. And deal with, cope with is also a combination, but deal and cope come more with management perspective, that I have to somehow manage, and battling is more with struggling. So the way the context was framed, it's better to go with struggling with their weight, because they're trying, they give excuses, they get the stress, but still they cannot do anything, or they are doing a lot of things and it's not happening. So that is why it will be um, battling. And then the last one, this is very, very important. This is a very common blank that we get in the exam, the difference between despite and although. So you simply check what is written after the blank till the comma. If there is a verb plus noun, then you put although. If you only have a noun and there is no verb till the comma, then you select despite. This has nothing to do with context. This simply has to do with grammar. Okay. Anything else, anyone? Is it clear now? No worries. Okay, let's move ahead. Go to the explanation sojourn. So noun plus verb, if both the things are there, then you go with although. If there is only noun, then you go with despite. All right, so here you have question number 4 on the screen. 2.5 minutes for this, and then post your answers, please. Okay, are we done? We have got Riddhi with us, who has got her result today. Congratulations, Riddhi. It's all the result of your hard work and your effort. So she has got a perfect 90 in reading, sorry. A perfect 90 in reading. And what else? So it was a total of 86, and she has got listening 80 on the borderline, and rest all 390. Lucky in terms of listening, na? Reading, speaking, and writing 90. Very well done. Congratulations from all of us, and we really hope um, you succeed more and more and more in your life ahead. God bless you. Keep going, keep achieving, keep shining. Thank you so much for coming and informing us, acknowledging us. This really means a lot to me and to LA as well. So congratulations once again. We really hope that your next step, whatever purpose you gave the exam for, you achieve that very soon. Thank you once again. So we've got one result, means we have got a lot of positivity, and I want more and more and more results. Thank you so much, Riddhi. Thank you. This is all your motivation that I get from you people. Your love, your support, your cooperation, that helps me keep going. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that the person who is sitting in the exam is solely responsible for what you are doing in those 2 hours. Because no matter how much you have learned, if you're not confident enough, if you haven't revised properly, you will not be able to do it. So take the credit, enjoy, party hard, and let's continue. Okay, so the answers for the fourth question. One of the most critically dashed paintings of the 19th century modernist movement is the French painter Manet's masterwork, *𝗙𝗲𝗏 at the Folly. So we need a word to describe painting and one painting. So we can say famous painting. Yes, it's possible. Eminent is used for human beings, for personalities. He is really an eminent person, or she is really an eminent personality. So we use it for human beings. Distinguished means different from others, and renowned also means famous. So renowned and famous are synonyms. What is more academic out of both of them is renowned is more academic than saying famous. When you read the context, you come to know that they haven't only talked about that this painting was very different. They haven't compared it to other paintings. If the context have been that this painting is made of this, whereas normally the paintings of that time were made like that, then you should have selected distinguished. So answers like these, they depend upon what the context is saying. So because both of them are grammatically fitting, so ultimately we have to select the answer based on context. So reading the context, they did not compare the painting with anything, so we will not select distinguished, and we will select based on academic strength out of famous and renowned. Renowned is more academic, it means the same, popular, so we'll go with renowned. Then they say originally dashed to the composer, this person, it is now in the possession of this gallery in London. So there's a painting which dashed to the person. So painting belongs to a person. We cannot say painting acceptance to a person, painting essential to a person, painting belonging to a person makes sense. Painting associated with the person makes sense. With association, we cannot say to. So we'll go with originally belonging to this person. It is now in this gallery in London. Dash, it has also become a favorite with the crowds. So what we have is when, where, whereas, and whenever. It simply depends upon the context again. So we are talking about place, London, and then comma and a blank means we have to refer to London. And whenever we refer to places, we select where. When is used to refer to time, whereas is used for comparing two things, for comparisons. And whenever is again related with time. So for example, we can say, whenever you come home, please bring a tub of ice cream for me. So that's whenever, related to time. Whereas for comparisons, only when again with time. But we were talking about London, so that's a place, so we'll go with where. The painting is set late at night in a 19th century nightclub. A barmaid stands alone, her bar, fitted out in a black bodice that has a frilly white neckline and a spray of flowers. So the description of the dress has been given. But what the blank is, a barmaid stands alone, her bar. So beneath means, what is the simple word for beneath? My memory has weakened. Beneath is below something. Yeah, below. Along is side by side. Behind is easy to understand, and below and beneath means the same. So it's very easy to understand where will a barmaid stand. She will stand behind the bar, obviously, because she will be serving, so she'll be standing behind the bar. Also on the bar are some bottles of liquor and a bowl of oranges, but much of the activity in the room takes place in the reflection of a mirror behind the barmaid. This mirror, we see an auditorium bustling with blurred figures and faces, men in this and women in this. So this mirror. When we are seeing something in the mirror, in the verbal language, we see in the mirror, but what is academic and the right way of saying something? We always say through the mirror, because mirror is the medium, and whenever you need a verb for medium, you always use through. So through is always used when there is something which is written as a medium for looking at something, for crossing, for passing. We always use through in that case. But yes, in verbal language generally say in the mirror, but that's wrong. Then amid is used when you want to say, it's easy to explain with the help of an example. For example, we can say, amid the coronavirus, the schools shifted to online coaching. Amid means while coronavirus was going in that time, at that time. So you can say, amid the war, the soldiers crossed the country. Amid means during, when the war was going at that particular time. So amid is used when you do something while the other thing was happening, was in continuation, then we say amid. Amongst is used when you have a plural written after. I can say among the children. You cannot say among the child. Here we cannot say because mirror is singular. Among the mirrors is right, but among cannot come with singular thing. And by this mirror, again, as I said, through is used when you talk about a medium. By is not used when you talk about a medium. So by is used when you talk about place, like by the lake. By the lake means near to the lake, next to the lake, then you use by. No, whereas comes with comparison. Like, I am going to Australia, whereas my friend is moving to Canada. So that is comparison between two places or two people. Then we make when we say whereas. Okay, so painting cannot be eminent. It is a word that we use for personalities, human beings. Out of famous and renowned, renowned is more academic. That's why it is our answer. And a painting can belong to a person. Painting cannot association with a person. Painting cannot acceptance with a person. Acceptance to a person. And out of when and where is what we use with places. So London is the place, so we'll go with where. When is used with time. Whenever is also used with time. Whereas is used for comparison. Then where is the barmaid? She is standing behind the bar. It makes sense. Even if we think at where will she stand, so it will be behind. And through is used whenever you have a medium for something. Then you say through the mirror. So generally also with mirror you use through in writing. That's the right combination. We don't use in when we write. Okay, is it done? Any other confusion? Anybody? Okay, let's do 4, 3. Okay, so we are done with reading writing blanks. This is your first question for reorders on the screen. You will get only 2 minutes to solve this. Or wait, let us do 5 because we have 6. I don't want to leave 2. 2.5 minutes for your fifth question for reading writing blanks, and then we will switch over to reorders. Please complete this and post your answers. The first one is a bit confusing, so it's okay even if it goes wrong. Let's see. This says time travel took a small step away from science fiction and dashed science. So it was difficult in the sense that it was not based on grammar, it was just based on understanding. So it says, so what is time travel? We understand what is time travel. Took a small step away from fiction and dashed science. So they were talking about movement. So time travel has stepped away, means it has distanced itself from something, and dashed science. So we should also go with a word that describes movement. So that is the only understanding, that's the only logic you can put together. So time travel took a small step away from science fiction and toward science, because toward is also movement. About is not a movement, almost is not a movement. Around science. Science travel, we cannot say take a step around science, because around is also used with in terms of place, not movement. And then they say science recently, when physicists discovered that subatomic particles known as neutrinos can exceed the speed of light. The unassuming particle, it is electrically neutral, small but with a non-zero mass, and able to dash the human form undetected. So with two comes first form of verb. So this particle is able to dash the human form. Particle is able to passive. No, we need first form. We don't need ing. This particle is able to form the human form. So human form, the human being, human body cannot be formed undetected. That nobody even detects, and a nanoparticle makes a human being. That's not possible. So penetrate, able to penetrate. Penetrate means get inside, and profound means deep. So profound is not a movement. We'll say this particle is able to penetrate, means enter a human form, a human being, and nobody can even detect. That can be penetrate. And then we don't need to read the hyphen to hyphen part. We can say the particle is on its dash to becoming a rock star of the scientific world. So this was a simple collocation. On its way is a collocation. Please note it down. On its way means it is slowly progressing towards the final aim. So it means slowly and steadily it is becoming the rock star of the scientific world. So is on its way means in process. And then they say researchers from these institutes sent the neutrinos hurtling through an underground corridor toward their colleagues at the Oscillation Project with tracing apparatus team 730 kilometers away in Italy. The neutrinos arrived promptly, so promptly in fact that they triggered what scientists are calling the unthinkable. And what is that? Everything they have learned, known, or dashed stemming from the last 100 years of the physics discipline may need to be dashed. So everything they have learned, known, or, so we need third form because learned is third form, known is third form. We have taught and associated. So think, something we have learned, something we have known will be something we have been taught. We cannot say something we have associated. Something we have taught stemming in the last 100 years in physics may need to be dashed. With be comes third form of verb. So rethink cannot be the answer. Rethink is present tense. So all the things that we know need to be reconsidered, right? Whatever we have written in the books of physics, we need to reconsider those things, whether they are right or not. Restarted is wrong. We cannot say whatever we have written in physics, we need to restart that, because it's not a machine. And resolved is what we use for problem. Resolve means to solve. So we cannot say whatever we have learned in physics, we need to solve that. Whatever we have learned in physics, we need to rethink on that. Rethink means because with new conclusions, new experiments, new researches, we have to match whatever the new research says. Have we written the same things in the books, or we need to change it? So reconsider means to check, right? So first, just based on movement, I've selected two words, and second one, a particle, very small particle. Particle can enter a human being. Particle cannot make or pass a human being. So enter means penetrate. Third, on its way is a collocation. So if you didn't know that, you can just write it down, note it down. Fourth one, whatever we have learned, whatever we have taught, whatever we know, everything has to be reconsidered. Reconsidered means we need to check whether it's right or not. Good. 16 out of 20 is a very good score. Definitely a good score to move ahead for your, if it is consistent, then yes, it's a good score to go for your test. Right? Good, Suganya, well done. Okay, let's begin with reorders and 2 minutes for this and then share your answers. What does the timeline rule say? The timeline rule says that if you have been given so many years, then you can think of putting your answers based on the earliest to the latest. But there is an exception as well. That's not 100% that your answer will always be starting from the earliest to the latest. There was an exception taught to you in the class which says that you still need to read and check whether it's right or not. But you haven't. You just read the years and you have marked your answer. The first sentence was B, not B. Because, now listen to it carefully. The sentence says the 1700s in Britain saw widespread poverty and rising crime, and those convicted of crimes faced harsh penalties. Penalties means there were so many penalties, including transportation to one of the Britain's overseas colonies. This was just one of those penalties. And unless and until you take your topic out of the whole bundle, you cannot straight away start explaining that. So this is called introduction. where you are taking out that this is my topic for today. Transportation to one of the colonies, which is a penalty for the crime. And then it was B. Since 1615, the convicts had been transported to Britain's American colonies, both as punishment and as a source of labor. But this practice was halted by Revolutionary War in America. So this, then you will say, explain the transportation. So unless and until you give your topic, you cannot explain that. So that is why D and B was the first pair. And then you CA, I think some of you have it incorrect, because this says the British government decided to establish a new prison colony, and Botany Bay in New South Wales was chosen as the site. And then you talk about between 1787 and 1868, almost these many convicts, of whom 25,000 were women, were sent to Australia to serve sentences ranging from 7 years to life. This will come after you say that there was a new prison in New South Wales. First, you will select the prison, only then people will come to the prison. Now. So, A can, in any case, A cannot come before C. So, yes, there is a timeline rule which says that 1600 will come before 1721 generally, but there is exception. There's a star. You still need to read the sentences. You still need to check what the story is flowing towards, because it is possible that sometimes they talk about 1721 and then they give the past story. And if you see here, they said saw and they said had. So if there is past and past perfect is something which happened before, but you will first have to say that what is your topic. This is my topic, transportation to other countries, and then you pick up one country and explain. Okay, but CA should have been correct, so I was expecting you to get 1 mark out of 3 at least. Good, Jagru, good, well done, all correct. The second question, 2 minutes for this, and then share your answers. Good, Diksha. Well done. Sukanya, also well done. This was easy. Why did you get confused in this one? So the first sentence was B. Hosting the Olympics is often considered to be an excellent way to update a city's sporting infrastructure. So this was the topic, Olympics and infrastructure related to Olympics. And then you explain what do you mean by infrastructure. That the extensive demands of Olympic sports include aquatic complexes, circuits, shooting ranges, beach valley courts, and of course 80,000 seat athletic stadium. So all this comes in infrastructure. So, like I always say, the first and the second sentence are very easily connected in the way that whatever the first sentence says, the second sentence further elaborates that what did you mean when you said the first sentence. So here it says that when we said infrastructure, what exactly we meant by infrastructure were these things. And then there was a direct reference. You say extensive demands, and then you say these demands. You cannot put anything else when you have a direct reference with this, that, these, and those. You cannot add anything in between if there is a direct reference. So these demands should be number 3 because it is directly related to demands. And then there will be a new point. Despite the enthusiasm that the people have in their hometowns, these complexes typically fall into disuse after the Olympics has waned. So first we talked about Olympics is related to infrastructure, what exactly comes in infrastructure, and then we refer to these demands are necessary, but after the Olympics, it all goes into disuse. So that was the right answer. And I was expecting that a lot of you will be giving the right one. Well done, those of you who have got a full score, and others focus. Easy language, small questions, direct references. This should not be wrong. Okay, the third and the last question for reorders. 2 minutes for this and then post your answers. Okay, should be done. No, no, no. You have again not found the hint. The first sentence was D, which almost all of you have got because this was the sentence where we got the name of the person. At the age of 13, Miles Davis was given his first trumpet. Lessons were arranged for the local trumpet player and a musical odyssey began. So this was a clear introduction that we are going to talk about this person. There was a direct reference again. These early lessons. You just said lessons were arranged with a local player. So then you refer these lessons, paid for and supported by his father, had a profound effect on shaping Davis' signature sound. And then if we look at the other sentences, if you look at A says this distinctive style. So before we say this style, we should explain the style because this is we are referring to some style. But till now we haven't explained any style. So we need to find out where the style is. E says he continued playing with it. Playing with what? We need to find out what was he playing with for the rest of his career. And it means the sound, not the instrument. Because if you read the complete sentence, if I can't get that sound, I can't play anything. So it means that sound. So we have to first explain what was the style. Most trumpeters of the era favored the use of vibrato. Davis was taught to play a long, straight tone, a preference his instructor reportedly drilled into the young trumpeter with a rap on the knuckles every time. So this is what his particular teacher taught him, which was different from others. Whereas tells us that they are going to make comparisons. Most of the people used to play like that, but his instructor taught him something different. And that different style never left Davis because this means you will write after the explanation, you will refer that this style never left Davis. He continued playing with it for the rest of his career. And it here means the sound or the style. So both of the things could be associated. He continued playing with it for the rest of his career. So this also was not that difficult because in two of the sentences there were these and this. So two pairs should have been correct. And B obviously you already got correct. So could have got 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 4 at least. When you do the same mistake in the very next question, that is something I really, really don't like. In the previous question, I told you this, that, these, those, this, that, these. This next question, you didn't pay attention to it. If you will keep on ignoring things, it is going to take very long time, which you don't want, and even I don't want. So when I say write, when I say take notes, they are important. They will in the very next question, they will help. So write these things in your language that okay, I have to focus on this, that, these, those in reorders. This is what you need to write. Okay, let's move on to reading blanks. There's the first question. 2 minutes given to you. Question on your screens, and I'll wait for your answers. Good, very well done. So this, the first one says, many people dash swimming in the ocean. There were different options, but grammatically none of them fit. For example, they could have said many people are scared of, but we didn't have are and we didn't have of as well. So we cannot say many people scared swimming. That will mean they used to scare in the past. If we use simple past tense, that will mean in the past they used to scare. But this is a factual statement. They are not talking about 1950s or they're not talking about 2010. So we will go with fear. Many people fear swimming. It's present tense. In some respect, this concern is well grounded. Humans are poorly equipped. So this all tells us that this is still the situation. We are not talking about only past tense. So we cannot put scared. Humans are poorly equipped when it's dashed to electroreceptive defense mechanisms. So humans are poorly equipped when it's dashed to, when it comes to. With it means singular, so we need a verb with S. And when we look at the options, there was only one option with S, so there's no choice that we have. When it comes to defense mechanisms, meanwhile, sharks hunt with extraordinary dash. So sharks hunt with dash. So sharks hunt with something. What is the thing sharks hunt with? So we need a noun basically. Sharks hunt with point. We have point as a noun, we have precision as a noun, and we have proximity. Proximity means closeness. So precision means in a perfect way. So we'll say sharks hunt with precision means with perfection. They initially dash their prey through a keen sense of smell as the shark reaches dash to its prey. So this one should be they initially lock onto their prey. Some of you have written with, but they haven't reached to their prey. The next sentence was, that's why important. As the shark reaches close to its prey means the previous thing was done even before reaching close to. So when the shark is not close to the prey, how can it lock with their prey, right? So that is why with is wrong and it has to be onto. Onto means the shark decides that I have to get this particular fish or this particular human or this particular thing. So they fix it. Fix means lock onto, that this is my target for today. So they initially lock onto their prey only with smell, and as the shark reaches in dash to its prey, I feel there should be in. The answer is in proximity to. It's a collocation. These three words generally are used together. In proximity to something means close to something. As the shark reaches close to its prey, and a better way of saying close will be as the shark reaches in proximity to its prey, it turns into electrical signals that ensure a precise strike on its target. Right? So these are the answers. The first one will be fear because it's a present tense. It's a factual thing. It's not based on yesterday or tomorrow. So we cannot say scared. We could have written scared if we will have many people are scared of, because then also it makes a factual statement, but not without are. The second one with it should be a verb with S, and there was only one option, so no doubts. Third one, sharks hunt with what? Noun. Whenever the question is what, the answer has to be a noun. So sharks hunt with precision means perfection. They lock onto their prey means they decide, they fix their prey, and as they go closer, closer means in proximity. Right? Any confusions, anybody? What is the meaning of many people careful swimming? Is it grammatically correct? Many people careful swimming. All right. So let's move on to number 2. Here is your question. 2 minutes for this and then post your answers. Good, well done. Let's see. This says, so will humans one day step across the same boundary that the neutrinos have? World-renowned astrophysicist Stephen Hawking believes that once spaceships can exceed the speed of light, humans could travel millions of years into the future. If we don't read the blank, the sentence is complete. Humans could travel millions of years into the future. Whenever the sentence is complete and after the blank we have a verb, we need to go with an adverb in the blank, and adverb are the words which end with ly with a small exceptional list. So how many adverbs do we have here? Is we had only one option with ly, so there was no doubt we should have gone with feasibly. Humans could feasibly travel millions of years into the future, repopulate Earth in the event of a forthcoming apocalypse. So, why will they travel millions of years into the future? In order to repopulate Earth. That was the only thing that made sense. With none of the other options made sense to me. So, in order to repopulate Earth. This is because as the spaceships dashed into the future, so spaceships is plural, so we need a verb without s. We had two verbs. One was speeds and one was accelerate. Speeds cannot come because it is plural. I already said that the noun is plural, so verb cannot have s. So the only option we had was accelerate. As the spaceships accelerate into the future, time would slow down around them. Hawking is therefore reserved optimistic. So these two words are opposites. Optimistic means positive, reserved means doubtful. So when we connect two contrasting words, we can go with however, but we did not have here anything out of that, but we had yet. So today is the day for yet. At least you will learn the use of yet today. So Hawking is reserved, yes, optimistic. So yet here means Hawking is doubtful, but still optimistic. Means he's not sure, but he's very positive that something good will happen. Time travel was once considered scientific theory, and I used to avoid talking it. And this most of you have got correct. I avoid talking about it for fear of being labeled a crank. These days, I'm not so cautious. So this was the earlier he used to feel like people will laugh if we talk about time travel, but now it's all it all seems very positive. No, if we'll say for the purpose of, then you'll have to say repopulating because after of comes ing form of verb. So that is why we cannot say for the purpose of, and rather we have to go with in order to because to comes with first form of verb. And in the context, we have first form, not ing form. If they'll say repopulating, we will be selecting for the purpose of. Right, so these are the answers. The first one, whenever the sentence is complete and there is a verb after the blank, so we should go with adverb always, it's a rule, and we had only one adverb, so we can simply select that. Second, the choice was between for the purpose of and in order to. Because we had first form, we will go with in order to. If we have continuous form ing, you can go with for the purpose of. Third one was again based on grammar. Spaceships is plural, so we need a verb without s, and that is why out of speeds and accelerate, we selected accelerate. Fourth one was based on connector. When you have contrasting connectors, then you can go with yet because reserved means doubtful and optimistic means positive. And the last one, talking about something, it generally makes sense. After all the modals come V1. Would, could, should, will, shall, may, might, everything comes with V1. And they have used V1 only. Travel is V1. The verb is already there, Ishang. We don't need a verb. You have to check with V1 or V2 if you need the verb in the blank. Right? Anything else, anyone in this question? Whenever the sentence is complete and after the blank there's a verb, you need to fill adverb. If the sentence is complete and after the blank there's a noun, you need adjective in that case. So first you have to check whether the sentence is complete or incomplete. Then you have to check whether after the blank you have a verb or a noun. and based on that you will select either adverb or adjective, right? Okay, question number 3, 2 minutes for this and then share your answers. Okay, should be done. So this says when we talk about how films dash meaning, we tend to refer to acting, music, dialogue, props, and narrative developments. Films is plural, so we need to find a verb without s. So let's see, and we had convey. We cannot say how films display meaning because meaning is not something that can be seen. Meaning is something that can be understood. So for understanding, we need to convey something. So it's not right to say display for meaning. The meaning is an abstract thing. Display can be for costume. Display can be for the set. Display can be for other things which are physical, but not for meaning, which is abstract. So films convey meaning. We tend to refer to acting, dialogue, props, and developments, but often forgotten is the visual essence of a film itself. Dash is the cutting together of moving images. So this we were simply referring. What we forget is the visual essence, and what is that? Which is the after the comma. Whenever we have a blank and we want to refer to something, we always use which. If we want to refer to something and there's a blank without the comma, then we use that. So that is the difference between that and which. So what we forget is the visual essence of a film itself. What is it? Which is the cutting together of moving images. This is what we forget. Each one dash to meet a particular need or purpose. Some of you have written here customize. The same rule that we have been discussing quite a while now. With singular noun, you need a verb with s. And still you have written each one display, each one customize. One is singular. It has to be each one customizes, each one displays. You cannot put singular noun with singular verb. So the answer was tailored. Each one very carefully tailored to meet a particular need or purpose. Most films and many important scenes within them open with an establishing shot. Typically, this shot dash our introduction to the main characters. So this shot means singular shot. We need a verb with s. There's only one that we have, no choice. So this shot precedes our introduction to the main characters by presenting us with the locale in which the scene's action or dialogue is about to occur. However, so we always read connector in the beginning to simplify the sentence. However, dash our director will use an establishing shot with another goal in mind. So we need something in capitals, occasionally or periodically. Periodically means when something is done at fixed intervals, that is periodically. But here it's not fixed that after how many shots the director will use establishing shot with a different mindset. So we can say occasionally means like rarely they use it. Once in a while they use it with a different goal in mind. Normally they use it for introduction. So we cannot go with periodically. It means after fixed periods of time. So these are the answers, and this question was simply based on one rule: singular noun, plural verb, plural noun, singular verb. And I keep on telling you again and again, based on this rule comes around 3 to 5 blanks in the exam minimum. And that can be, those blanks can be spread over, or those blanks can come in a single question. But this rule is a commonly tested rule in the exam. If you don't pay attention to, you're going to lose marks because you pay more attention to context. So the first one, films is singular, so we'll go with convey. We cannot go with display because meaning is not something that can be seen. It's better conveyed. It's something we understand. Second, it was a reference, which is a cutting together. If the blank would have been without the comma, then we'll say that is the cutting together. That and which are both used for reference, which is used with a comma and that is used without a comma. And then each one is singular, so we need a verb with s, precedes. This short dash our introduction. No, sorry. Each one dash to meet. So here it will be each one tailored to meet. And this short will be with s. This short precedes our introduction. And the last one, periodically, means after fixed time, which is not possible for a director to use a short after a fixed time. So it will be occasionally. The meaning of tailored is customized. Each one is customized. Customized means because they're talking about the scenes of the film. So each scene of the film is particularly made, customized according to the need and purpose. Right? So the fourth one is again based on grammar rules. Short is singular, so we'll need a verb with s, and precedes was the only one with s that we had. Right? Any other confusion, anyone? Okay. So here you have your question number 4, the last one for today, and you have 2 minutes. and then share your answers, please. Okay, let's discuss the answers for this last question. Sorry. This is like a headline in a newspaper. It should dash the recipient's attention and specify what the message is about. So there were two hints here. One is should is a modal, so we should use first form of verb which should, and second is which what is the type of verb they have used. So they have used specify first form of verb. So we will also go with first form, which is grab. We will not go with will be or should be catching. Should be catching is also grammatically right. We can put ing with be and should and be also together. But they haven't used ing, so we will also not use ing. It should grab the recipient's attention and specify what the message is about. If the email is one of a series, example, a weekly newsletter, include the date in the subject line, dash, leave it blank. Almost blank, never blank. So based on the context, yes, it's right that never leave it blank. If you need to email someone about different issues, Write a separate email for each subject. Sentence is complete. Different issues is noun. What else we can explain different issues? We can say several different issues because several goes with plural noun. So several different issues. We should write a separate email for each of them. This allows the recipient to reply to each one individually in a dash manner. So what kind of manner? There were two options, proper manner and timely manner. Both are grammatically correct. So where was the hint? Read the next word, for instance. For instance means they have given example. What is the example rule? Example rule says that example is always given for the explanation. Whatever they have said, the same thing should be explained. Now, when we read the example, one subject might be dealt quickly, other involves some research. Is the example of time or the example is of properness? Now you can revise your answers, please. Example is of time or example is of proper? One thing quickly, other after some research, the example is of time. And that is why the answer will be timely. There's no other reason for putting timely and not putting proper. So these are the things you should be noting. That if there is an example, I should first read the example and then put the answer for the explanation because they should match. If they don't match, then you have missed the hint. For instance, one subject might be dealt with quickly, dash another could involve some research. Now here we were comparing one subject with the other subject. And whenever we make comparison, we use while or whereas. We don't have a whereas here, so we will go with while. Fourth one was timely and the fifth one is while because of we know how to use while. Whenever we make comparison between two things, then we use the word while. So this was a very good question. These types of questions do come in the exam. The first one was based on we need V1. They have also used V1. So both of the things were telling us that we should not go with ing. Second was simply based on context. Don't leave the subject line blank when you're writing an email. Different issues, many different issues, various different issues, nothing else matched. Fourth one was based on context. The example is of time. So the answer should be time. If the example would have been not of time, we will go with proper. And the last one, whenever we make comparison between two things, we use while or whereas. Whatever you have, you can go with that. If you have both of them, prefer whereas. It also depends on the sentence structure. We have discussed this already. If you need something in the beginning of the sentence, prefer while. If you need something in the middle of the sentence, prefer whereas. Right, so these are the answers for this question. Any confusions, anybody? Why we didn't put also in first line? It should also the attention. What is the meaning, Himani? What is the meaning of you should also the attention? Yes, the second one is never because the sentence, the context is saying this thing that write and something. If it is a series, write the date. If it is if you have so many emails, different subjects, then write the subject in the subject title. Means don't leave it blank is what they are trying to say. The recording of this session will be uploaded on the portal. I think what time do they upload? I think after a few hours of the class, or maybe as soon as the class finishes, within an hour they upload it on the portal. Okay, so these were all the questions that we had to do today. I hope you would have learned something. I hope this would have been helpful to you. And I really, really hope that you are writing. You are taking notes. Yes, Himani. Example is for time. That's why we have selected timely. Despite comes when after the blank you have only noun. Although comes when you have noun plus verb, both the things after the blank. Refer to the grammar videos. You will get a better explanation in those. See, all the notes, whatever the rules, the notes, whatever I explain, all those notes are already included in the grammar videos. So you can get them from there. See, for individual, if you are targeting 79 plus individual, you should be getting 65 plus consistently, and it should not be on the border like 65, 66. 65 plus means that it should be 68, 69, 70, maybe sometimes 71, 72. But if you're consistently within this range, then yes, you can go for your attempt for 79. This and that are used for singular things. These and those are used for plural things, Himani. For 65, it should be around 60. 59, 60, 61, 58 is also fine. Now you cannot convert just your blank scores into band scores. You can get a percentage. Divide 32 with the total number of blanks and multiply by 100, and that will give you a percentage. If it is 80%, good to go for 79. Right? Anything else? Anyone? Why do you need 70, Kushi? What is this new criteria for 70?